Hi, it's Katie Mackenzie, mortgage professional, TMG The Mortgage Group, and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate. Thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Kristen Hilstob, financial security advisor with Freedom 55 Financial. Her motto is that the best way to plan for your future is to protect it. This rings true when you're buying or already own a home, possibly the largest asset you'll ever buy, and discussing how to protect it with insurance is just as important. Kristen, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Katie. I'm excited.
Excellent. To start, can you let our listeners know what exactly is a financial security advisor?
So, financial security advisor helps with all four cornerstones of financial planning, but making sure you have that protection piece around your financial plan. So if anything, any emergency were to happen, you're protected.
Awesome. How did you get into working as an advisor?
Well, I started in financial services in 2008 with TD Canada Trust. I started as a customer service rep and moved into the financial services. I stayed there for 6 years, and 2 years ago started with Freedom 55 Financial, able to help clients a little bit further with their full financial planning, more of a focus on risk management with my clients.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. For our listeners that may never have bought real estate before or had a full financial planning conversation where they've talked about protection, can you explain, the three basic types of protection that are available to protect their real estate asset?
Yeah, so there's three kind of main emergencies that could happen. Critical illness, if that were to happen, a disability, or if you were to die, pass away before you were expected to. Kind of covering in all three of those areas. Disability, if you weren't able to earn an income, what would happen to your daily mortgage, debt payments, your food, any kind of expenses that you would need, making sure that's all covered. Critical illness, if you were to become disabled, critically ill, and this is a lump sum that is deposited and can be used however you choose. This can help with clients take some time off work, help pay for their payments in that time, or even health expenses. And life insurance, making sure if you were to pass away before you're expected to, your family is protected or your assets are protected.
Now, I know in my experience and with some of my clients, in the event of disability or health crisis, most people think their expenses will be less, but they can actually be greater, so that the importance of discussing this today is paramount for anyone in this situation. Now, I know that I sell mortgage protection with all of my clients and talk about it in that mortgage application stage. But what is the difference for our listeners? Explain what the difference then is between what I offer as the mortgage broker versus you as the financial security advisor.
Yeah, so number one is just making sure that protection is in place and making sure your goals and needs are covered. They are a little bit different, that the beneficiary with a mortgage broker would be the bank or the lender, where a life insurance would be your named beneficiary. Down the road, if you were to refinance your mortgage, you would have to requalify, where life insurance is going to be set at the time of application. And also the amount it's with a mortgage, it is a declining balance, where life insurance is going to be a level amount. So just making sure it covers your goals and needs. If it is a long-term goal, maybe you have other assets or debts that you want to cover too, just making sure everything is covered and you have the right protection in place.
Mm-hmm. Kristen, so our listeners might be thinking, okay, Katie, if you sell this coverage, as a mortgage broker, why are you having Kristen on the podcast? So there are circumstances where, my coverage may not be enough for what the clients need. And in what scenarios do you see that occur with your clients?
Yeah, so making sure, doing a full needs analysis, if it's, they probably have other assets there too, not just their mortgage, maybe other debts, other assets, continuing an income for a spouse or family, other things that might be important, and kind of lumping that all together. So doing a holistic plan for protection, where mortgage insurance would be kind of just tied to that single asset, where outside individual life insurance is going to be independent of that, and the beneficiary can choose where or what to do with those funds. So a little bit different. And you want to make sure that above the mortgage protection or coverage you have with your employer, that you have the right coverage in place if something were to happen.
Yeah, I know at the mortgage application stage, a lot of people will say, well, I have coverage with my employer. And I say, well, that's great. Get a copy of what you've got. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't really cover enough for what those clients need, because we're qualifying people based on 2 incomes at full earning potential. And when we ask that question, what happens if there's no immediate available answer? So again, begs that conversation of having the right protection in place. So I guess another reason then is, when you change employers, again, then that coverage is lost. So again, begs that conversation, of coming back to ensuring that people have enough coverage in place. So what is your first meeting with your clients like? So if I was to refer a client to you to have that conversation on mortgage protection specifically, what does that first meeting or conversation look like?
The first meeting is very simple, just kind of getting to know each other, making sure we're the right fit. That's kind of key in everything financial is finding the right fit. And it's really simple. They don't need to know what questions to ask or what to bring. Just bring themselves, and I kind of lead them from there, ask them the right questions. I do have a really simple questionnaire too that we can use, and it just really helps explain kind of everything that I do help with, as well as leads me what's important to them and where we should start. So yeah, super simple.
Do they need to bring anything with them?
No, they can. If they do have their benefits booklets or any coverage they do have in place, definitely bring that. That can help, or we can gather that later. But the first meeting can be really simple. Just bring themselves and then kind of go from there. But if they do bring their booklets or their benefits, I can help them review it and explain what they do have in place. A lot of times they start their career or their job, and the benefit booklet is put away, and they don't know what the details and everything that's included. So me just kind of reviewing that with them, explaining what's there, what they have, it is always a benefit too for them.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you but didn't know how to start that conversation, what would you tell them?
Not to worry. The first meeting is very simple, and I'm going to kind of ask all the questions from there and figure out what's important to them, if there are any gaps, or answer kind of anything financial for them. I can help them kind of lead from there. The first meeting is very simple, just getting to know each other, and we can kind of take it from there. With all of my clients, sometimes it isn't the right timing. Sometimes it's down the road, but that's great. Just meeting each other, having that contact too for them if down the road they have questions or whenever it is that they want to address these issues, they know that I'm there to help.
I think that the scenario rings true for me too, because sometimes that first step into getting to buy a home is just making that first call to the mortgage broker to say, hi, we're interested, but we don't even know what to ask you, what to say, which I love, because then you can guide people through that whole process and make sure that they feel comfortable. So I think the importance of what we're trying to say here then is that, if you have a need or a potential need coming forward, is to ask, is to reach out and connect to ask. Because I know with my clients, I make sure it's a part of my conversation with every mortgage application that if there's a need, you need to know. We need to bring that to light, and then you can decide with the tools and options that you or I present to cover that need. So yeah. Outside of protecting your home as an asset, obviously, our listeners need this type of protection just as a piece of their financial plan. So can you talk to why protection is important even if they don't own a home or they have coverage in place to protect that asset already?
Yeah, so like everything financial, the earlier you start, the better. Locking in at your age and your health now is always better. You never know what's going to happen to your health in the future. And it's not just over 65 that these things happen. Critical illnesses, disabilities do happen young. People don't have enough of this planning and protection in place. So get that protection in place, and even if it's something small, a small plan that you can grow with in the future, add on. For me, and as an example as well, I don't own a home yet. I don't have a family, but in the future, even in 10 years, I hope to have all that. So starting a small plan now, something that I can build on in the future, is great. And not just having plans that just are purely protection, but having a plan that has some living benefits as well, and building an additional savings or asset for myself, that if I never need the protection, that I have that asset there that I can use. So there's different benefits that you can.
Yeah, that answers my question then of, what do you say to a single person with no dependents in regards to why protection is important? And it's about building that plan for future partner, future children, locking in rates today, building any asset value within certain plans that you offer. I mean, we don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of those here. That's something that people can reach out to you directly to talk about. But I think it's important too to talk about not a barrage of stats, but to look at what the stats kind of are. If I look at my analytics of who's listening to my social media posts, podcasts, it's typically people between 25 and 34. And this is typically not an age range that you would expect to see people with, a health crisis activities, but it happens more often than not. Do you have any stats that you can share for people in that age range based on your experience, so that they can see that importance again of protecting?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a ton of stories, a ton of friends and clients that are young and crazy things happen to their health and through disability or critical illness that totally came out of the blue. So it does happen. Taking again myself as an example, as a 31-year-old female non-smoker, the chances of one of the three things, so either being disabled before age 65, having a critical illness before 65, or dying before the age of 65. So one of those three things is 50%. And that's just from answering those three questions, not getting into my my lifestyle or my hereditary. So yeah, it's a huge percentage. Disability is 41% that's going to happen to me before 65, or critical illness is 19%. So it's pretty huge. It's something to be thinking of and planning for now. Have that discussion before you have to. If you're coming from your doctor who's asking, do you have this coverage in place? It's probably too late. So think about these things before you need to. They are likely and they are really severe.
That's what I always say to my clients. It's not something you want to talk about, but it's something you have to talk about. No one wants to talk about death, disability, or critical illness, but it touches all of our lives substantially and through all age groups, generations, and is, I can't stress enough how important it is. So, is there anything else that you wanted potential listeners, people who want to reach out to you, know today?
Yeah, I think this is kind of one of the last things that they think about, having this risk management part of their financial plan, or this lifeboat to protect their financial plan. But it is something that they need to think about or start discussing before it needs to happen. So, and that's kind of my goal in my practice too, is to reach as many young professionals as I can and have these discussions. Even planting the seeds early with them, and if it isn't something that we do right away, but something that we start in the near future, or something that we start small and build on for the future too. But have the discussion, find an advisor you trust, and have this discussion before it's a need. Yeah, there's just so many benefits to lock in age, health.
Kristen, I wanted to thank you for taking time to podcast with us today. I'm sure there's many things that have sort of piqued listeners' interest or will create additional questions for listeners. And I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to contact you to find out more information, or even to start those discussions about protection with or without the real estate asset piece. How can people reach you?
Yeah, so definitely the easiest are through phone or email. Phone number is 604-685-6521, extension 4324, or by email, and that's my first and my last name at freedom55financial.com. So KRISTEN.HILSTOB at freedom55financial.com. There's also a website with everything in there as well, and that's KristenHilstob.com.
Excellent. So we'll provide all the links and everything in the podcast on the website and our Facebook group as soon as this comes out. But do let us know outside of protection piece if you have a topic that you want us to talk about on upcoming podcasts and or questions for our upcoming Ask a Broker podcast. Do let us know. We want to thank you for tuning in today and remind you to subscribe on iTunes so that you get notifications of future podcasts coming down. Until then, I'm Katie Mackenzie, mortgage professional with TMG The Mortgage Group, and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate.